Satnam, and welcome everyone back to the podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have Lori Menna on as a special guest. I'm currently actually taking her Photoshop class, and some of you may know her and some of you may not know her, but she is the amazing artist behind Cosmic Collage on Instagram. And I just have loved like your work for like years, but I've never, it's funny because there's only a few times where you've actually put a picture of you. But anyways, to introduce Lori, she has 25 plus years of experience, professional experience as a graphic artist and web designer. She has created the artwork for 3 published decks for Hayhouse. That's amazing. And also published a self-published deck called The Energetics of Color. I had no idea you did that. Creativity has been a very important part of her own personal healing journey. And she believes that the process of creation is a sacred one that should stay in the hands of humans. I agree with you. And that is if integrity and authenticity is what you align with. And, you are an amazing artist. I just want to say welcome. Thank you for accepting the invitation to be here. And yeah, excited to have this conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for that introductory. And yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an honor that you invited me here.
I saw a post
I'm in
like,
my course too.
I know, yes. That course thing happened like, I don't know, it was like this impulsive, like for me. Like I said, I had been, following your work just like on Instagram for years. And there was a time, like a couple of years where I completely deleted all my social media because I just went on this pause of everything and
Yeah.
came back. And so I hadn't seen much of your work recently, but then like, I don't know, like a few weeks ago, I saw this post you put and it was like, I'm teaching a class on Photoshop. And I was like, wait, like it made me just turn my head because I don't know. I just remember a long time ago wanting to like seeing the work that you do. And if you guys that are listening or not or watching are not familiar with her work, go to Cosmic Collage on Instagram and check out some of these images. I mean, they're like beyond cool. And I was like so inspired by you and other artists too. Like there's other, beautiful artists like what's the lady that works with has worked with Rebecca Campbell. I always her name's
Oh, Danielle, yes.
yeah, Danielle Noel. Yes, yes.
She's
So
a
she
moon
has
child, Burrow.
yes. Okay,
Oh,
so
well, I love her too.
yeah, amazing. Okay, so you guys are like in this category of like, I admire your work so much because it's like mesmerizing. There's just something about it. It's like otherworldly. So when I saw this post about you teaching a class, I knew instantly that I had to take it. So I'm ecstatic about just learning from you, but I would love for you to just tell us, just a little bit about yourself for those of you that like kind of who's Lori, who's Lori.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I don't post my images of myself. Actually, it's really funny because the hermit card just came out. And that's me. I'm the hermit hiding in my little cave. Um, no, but I do like most of I had a different kind of graphic design career before where I worked for like this communications agency in San Diego. And I feel like, like young and in my early 20s, like a lot of like the way I looked and the way I dressed, like that's how I kind of like got my foot in the door at jobs. And then I had this whole epiphany where I just kind of wanted to be like hidden and just put my artwork out there. So that's kind of what the Cosmic Collage account is. It's like just artwork. There isn't much of me, but I'm starting to show my face more now because I'm teaching, which is something that I only started doing a little bit over a year ago. And previously, I just served clients. So it's a bit of a transformation within my career, but there have been a lot of transformations. Like in the beginning of my graphic design career, I did websites for like mechanics and plastic surgeons and lawyers and like logos for like a dental office. Like that's just the where my graphic design career had led me. So it's kind of cool that now I only do graphic design jobs for clients that I'm like really aligned with like their vision, and it's always something like right now I'm working for a woman creating 12 archetypes of goddesses.
Oh, I love that.
Really fun and like right up my alley. Like it's the job that was like it's meant for me to be creating this artwork. And that feels a lot better than creating a website for a plastic surgeon.
I know, I love that you're mentioning this because actually my passion, like what I do, I am an astrologer. I also read human design and gene keys, and I kind of put them all together. So in a way, it's kind of like my version of collaging. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because I love to teach people about their own unique design, and all of these different systems can give you so much insight about that. And when you're not living in your design, like not in true alignment, if you can feel it, you can feel it. And then when you actually fully step into that alignment, it's very clear. So I feel like my view of this is you've just had all this training, all these years of training to be able to find like that niche, which I had never seen this type of art before I saw like you or these other artists that I had never seen anything like it. It was mesmerizing.
Thank you.
Yeah. So my one of the questions that I have is what would you feel, where was like the origin story of you stepping into this whole like graphic design world, first of all?
Well, okay, so when I was really young, I was probably like 15, maybe 14. My dad had a computer in his office, and there was like a paint shop and a program called Paint. And I like the internet was kind of like a new thing for everyone. Like I remember I made a Hotmail account. It was lshrooming@hotmail.com. Um, I used to just like look for images on the internet, and I used to look for Grateful Dead bears because I was obsessed with like drawing Grateful Dead bears. I don't know. I grew up in like Philly, and there was like a skate shop down the street, and they had all these like dead head stickers, and I really liked the artwork of the Grateful Dead.
Uh-huh.
So I used to use my father's computer in the paint program and like do little Grateful Dead bears like with the pixels. And then this other like paint shop, I would do like book report covers for school. And I just started like playing with the shapes and like making different things. And then my father insisted on me going to school for graphic design. Well, my mother and my father, they were like, "Oh, okay, you're going to be a graphic artist." Like they could see that I was a graphic artist. And which like back then it kind of was like I don't know. I remember there was like in seventh grade, somebody came into, there was like a career day at our school, and someone came in and did a demonstration, a graphic designer from Philadelphia at like this big advertising agency. And I remember him like doing an illustration of a glass of water, but on the computer. And I was like mind blown when I saw that. I was like, like, wow, like you can do that on the computer, like how, and I remember thinking like I would never be able to do that. And I did it. So it was like all these little seeds were planted, right, for me to be an actual graphic designer. And then
That's
it happened. My dad bought me one of those. Remember when the apple, the real colorful, it was like turquoise, I think they were the
yes.
Halifax.
Uh-huh. Yes.
When those came out, that was the year I started at the small art school in Philadelphia, and my father bought me one of those.
Wow. I mean, that is really young to like step into something that you're still doing. Like what do you think has kept you in it for all these years?
Oh, I know. I don't know if it's like that ADHD, but like it's like hyper focus. Like I get into that hyper focus zone with it. But I also like, I know that a lot of it has to do with like the alchemy of emotions. Like I can't say that I've have had a very easy life. Like even as a child, like a lot, I've had a lot of trauma, like a lot of difficult things have happened. And there's a kind of a way that I've used it as escapism, but also there's times when like if I feel like I have anxiety or something like so bad, I know that the only thing that helps me is when I'm creating something, whether it's with my hands or on the computer. And like that's how I process it. That's how I've always processed everything. And yeah, I just think like I need it. It's my medicine.
Wow, I just got chills because I feel that it was like your outlet. It was like where you could like, a lot of us have a version of that. It's like where you could escape from the stress and like all the things going on in life and just lose yourself in it.
Mhm.
That's
And it is like I get really lost in it. And I've been, it's been like 26 years now that I've been literally on Photoshop every single day or like painting something or creating something. Even when I take a break, like we go to this other beach house and we like collect seashells and make seashell mandalas and like it's like I can't stop.
I love that. But that's what makes you that's what takes someone to like expertise or like mastering something. It's like you end up like breathing it and leaving and living it like every day.
Yeah.
But
And I
it
say like I love it. Like if I go for a I used to create a lot more. Like I used to take the time and say like, okay, at least once a week, I'm going to create something in Photoshop that I'll just like post on Instagram that it's just going to be about like me expressing my emotions or something to do with the astrological climate or just some sort of self-expression. And I have kind of probably in the last few months, I kind of have not been doing that as much because I think the nature of posting on social media has been, it's like kind of exhausting. Like the whole energy and the politics and like everything that's going on. I just like something is kind of like pulling me away from like feeding the system.
Mhm.
So I've been kind of, I don't know, I think we're always in like
There's always
transition,
a flow.
but I'm in a big transition period right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I honestly I couldn't for my own personal, I couldn't believe that you were actually teaching a class, It was like, wow, it like this whole new like thing and it felt in such alignment because if I was ever like I've been wanting to learn, this whole Photoshop thing and how to do this stuff and I've gotten pretty good at Canva, because Canva is like yeah, just like really easy to use, but there's just something about like the professionalism behind the program like Photoshop that I desire that kind of quality. And so I always knew that like if I'm gonna take a class on this, like the best thing would be with someone who does what I'm inspired by. So, but it is a big transition. How do you've taught this class, you said for about you've been teaching for about like a year and a half now?
Yes. So actually, it's been 2 years since I started. I created a Thinkific kind of go at your own pace course 2 years ago. That's when I had the idea of like, well, I really want to teach. I want to teach people how to be graphic designers, especially women. I especially want to empower women because another big part of me being a freelance artist, um, I moved to Mexico about 17 years ago, and my son was born 15 years ago, and my daughter 13 years ago. And their father, like, completely abandoned us. And he was an alcoholic and a drug addict and abusive. And the situation was so fucked up. And, like, I had no choice
Mm.
but to, like, work and create a life for my children and myself. So, I really I have a desire to empower women to be able to make a living and make money and earn some money, even if it's to earn some money on the side by doing like some flyers or like doing a little website for the local flower shop, like anything, because people always need graphic designers. And it's a job and it's a service that you can always offer to someone. And
Mhm.
I just, yeah, I really like love the idea of like sharing that with other women. And women get really excited about it too.
Well, I feel like it's this
Fun.
outlet. Yeah, I feel like it's this like outlet that um we're able to like flow in such a natural way, and
Yeah.
everyone's got their own like individual unique like vision and eye, and like everyone's art is different because it's like an extension of who we are. But I think that this is the like a cool like modern way of like expressing that. And I mean the things that you can create, I mean there is like infinite.
Infinite. And there's so much room for everyone. Like that's another thing. Like a rising tide lifts all boats. There is so much room for everyone's style. And if you really believe in like the Dharma part and like the connection to like the people that you're meant to be connected to, like, not all the clients out there are like necessarily for me, but like people belong with people. And it's the same way with like graphic design and clients and
Yes, yes. It's like that with everything. It's just, it's
yeah.
better to like be aware of it so that you know like where to set your healthy boundaries with, even with like when to say yes and when to say no, like if you're going to work with somebody or not, there's an art to that as well, and recognizing like who is in alignment. Yeah, completely.
Mhm.
So one question I have that's coming up now is, so there must have been a moment, like in your career, maybe it's always been there from the beginning, that you started to create these other types of art, with like what you would call like the cosmic collage, right? So do you remember that process? Do you like
So I
what
can give
happened to get you
you
to
a
create?
word.
Say that again.
There's a very specific kind of timeline and story
Ooh.
around how Cosmic Collage was born and like what was happening at that time. So I was actually managing like a high-end luxury property on the beach on the north end in Sayulita. And the owner of the house was really good friends with the father of my children. And I was receiving a commission for every time like the house rented, and I would like, just property management and rental management. I would like receive the guests. And it started to get like, speaking of boundaries, like he started to really cross my boundaries and wasn't really very clear what my job was. And the father of my children had this idea in his head because he that was his friend and he gave me that job, that he didn't have to pay me child support, and that me having the privilege to work there, I should be lucky because, and that's his way of giving child support to me or whatever. So it got to the point where I was receiving these like really long emails in the middle of the night, obviously like drug-induced emails from the owner of this house. And that him and the father of my children would like gang up on me and like make things my fault, like things that were happening in the house. Like it got so ridiculous. And I was sitting in the airport on the way to Toronto. I had been drinking ayahuasca with a Canadian shaman for like a few years, and I was invited to do an isolation diet in Toronto. So I left my kids with my parents in Philadelphia, and I went to the airport to get on the plane to go to this isolation diet in Toronto. And on the way to the airport, I just had enough. Like there was some message or some email, and I was basically like, fuck you, I'm done. I'm not being a part of this. I quit. I quit. And I feel like going into that ayahuasca ceremony and into that isolation diet, the ayahuasca was just stripping me of the shit that I was not aligned with, and that I was like I couldn't go into that isolation diet carrying that and being in that job.
I literally have full body chills as you're telling the story.
And coincidentally, I just opened the Cosmic Collage Instagram account, and that very same weekend. And so when I arrived to Toronto, it was like outside of Toronto, like north a little bit. When I arrived to this house where everyone got sent out in their tents on this like big piece of land, well, the group of people, I started showing them the artwork in the Instagram account that I just started, just to like get some feedback. And then the isolation diet was very painful. It was like I had like just like pain in my legs and my bones, and it was raining, and it was like, 7 days, no food. Like you drink ayahuasca, go out to this tent, your tent, and you have no food, but you have water, but then they bring you tobacco.
Mhm.
And I was dieting a plant called kamalanga. It's like a little yellow flower from it's known as a master plant in the Amazon. So I was dieting that plant, and I was never it turned out that the integrity of this group of people and this Canadian shaman was not aligned with like how I believe plant medicine should be treated.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean that I didn't like get a lot out of my
Yes.
experience, but it was really hard. It was like a stripping down of all things. I was filled with fear, like I didn't know that job, managing that property, it did give me a lot of security for my children. It was like our safety net.
Yeah.
And I just let that go. So I didn't know what was going to happen. And yeah, that whole isolation diet and that experience was about fear of the unknown and stepping into the unknown. And I think we all go through that when we're transitioning or however our lives, wherever, whatever paths we choose. I'm not a person who has had anything handed to me.
Mm.
So I work very hard for everything that I've had. Like I built a home here in Mexico. I, bought some land. I've been able to travel with my children to like Asia and Europe and all over the world. And that's because of Cosmic Collage.
Wow. How did, okay, so did at that time, if it was like this purging of all the things in your life that just really were kind of holding you back and like completely not in alignment with like your purpose and your truth. So once that experience completed itself, how did you like re-emerge from that?
It's funny because I think that it's just kind of like been on a rinse and repeat cycle of that. We all live. Like I'm constantly having to like realign myself and get rid of shit that's not working. I don't know. Is it just like a little spiral that we're on and we're constantly like getting closer and closer?
I mean, I feel like yes, there's both. But that specific experience was obviously like a real, like it was one
Yeah,
of real, like a real initiation for you. Like,
alignment.
and I think maybe the next ones are just like readjusting and realigning. But
Yeah.
in terms of like the whole concept of the cosmic collage, which like it's a thing. I mean, like, and it's also because it's funny, it's 3:33 when I look at the clock. But actually, there's something about, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I have been to like a few ayahuasca ceremonies. I have not done way too many. I've actually had a lot of experience with peyote Native American ceremonies. I know that medicine really, really well. But the ayahuasca is I'm not as familiar with, but I do also see a connection between artwork that comes like that is inspired through the medicine of ayahuasca that is similar to this whole concept of the cosmic collage that you present in your work. Was there ever an experience where you had like a vision, like where do your visions come from? Maybe from inspired from plant medicine, but maybe not. So in general, like where did this whole concept of like the type of visual art that you create come from?
Um, So I think, well, I did start to create things like this like long ago, even before I drank ayahuasca. So I wouldn't say that it like entirely came from visions from ayahuasca and ceremonies, but I will say that it was like heavily influenced as I continued. I drank ayahuasca a lot. I don't sit in ceremonies anymore. I haven't sat in a ceremony in 3 or 4 years,
Hmm.
like 4 years. Um, I do think,
Similar with me.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think, I may have used it as a form of escapism. I also like it just like sometimes when I get really interested in something, like I really have to go in and like find out everything there is to know about it.
Yes.
Kind of how it was with ayahuasca. And I had a very interesting experience where I ended up going down to Peru several times and having to get like cleaned and cleansed of like previous people that I was working with that were not in integrity. And um, but okay, so I created this new website that I'm working on right now. It's called cosmiccreationcode.com.
Hmm.
And the main visual of it, the main image on it when you go is actually an owl with rainbow wings, and there's a bee, and there's like two snakes, and there are some sacred plants around it. And this vision, the very first time I sat in ceremony here in Yalapa in Mexico. This is pretty much the vision that I saw. I saw this owl. So many times I saw snakes and I saw bee and deer. And then those are the visions and the animals that continued to come to me, not only in ceremony, but in real life,
Hmm. Hmm.
constantly crossing the path with like an owl.
I
Like,
want to, I'm gonna, as you talk about this, I'm gonna just share for the people that are actually watching so they can have the visual. I have it pulled up.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, this is what she's talking about. Oh my God, this is so beautiful.
Thank you. And I actually just created, so this is how crazy ayahuasca and integration with plant medicine works.
Yeah.
Is because, I think a lot of my integration is done in the form of creation.
Hmm.
And this ceremony was 12 years ago. And then I just created this like a couple of weeks ago.
It is so beautiful.
Thank
This is what
you.
I'm talking about. Like, there's just like, this is the kind of art, it's like hard to describe, but this is the kind of art that like you feel there's something behind it. Like it almost like once you see it, it kind of takes on a life of its own. I've never seen anything like it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome. I mean the colors. I remember one time when I was looking at your, your page, I was like, oh my God, if I ever made a deck, those would be the color, like deep, like, not like soft and pastel but then now I'm like, I love the pastel, but at one point I was like, it would be like deep and like hardcore. Like there's just like a power to it. And it is, I know it's unique to you, like, because we are, the art is an extension of who we are, but there is something really like engaging about the art that you create.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So that's amazing. And yeah, I was just curious about like what the, how it kind of like came about that you started to actually create these kind of images. Like, and because there's a difference between like, like you were mentioning earlier, making like flyers for like people, for like dental companies or whatever, or logos or whatever, and then this type of work. So what's the difference to you?
So I think like many years ago, I would just play with play in Photoshop and do random things and like lay images over images. And it was different, like messing around in Photoshop and then actually like working in Photoshop. They were two very different things. So,
Interesting.
like like it's interesting that you ask like how it came about because I did used to just like mess around and like experiment. It was a lot of just like experiment and play and not knowing and like that's where like all this magic happens, right? Like when there's no agenda. And I really try to teach that to my students too because and it's very tricky because women come in and it's been all women so far. Actually, my first student was a man from Brazil, like before. But okay, so I always try to like break this down for my students because they come in and it's all this technical stuff and like you're in the workspace with the toolbar and like all these windows and it's you can't really wrap your head around like letting go and being in this creative and playful place, because you're learning all this
Yes, to
shit.
that. Yes, you have to get through that part first.
You have to get through this part. And like some women are trying to like create things right away and they want to like Even what is that book the by the Rick Rubin? I think it's like the creative something. I've been like dabbling in the book. It's very popular right now. It's I'm looking it up right now.
Hmm.
Anyway, he talks about it like how it's not you can't create something. Called the creative act. But he
Okay.
talks a lot about how you can't create for the outcome. You just have to create for you. And that's like the really important. That's why like AI fucking sucks because it's taking away that like beauty of that process that like we need to connect to, we need to get lost in. It needs to be meditative. We need to zone out and listen to music and like my kids make fun of me because sometimes I talk in like weird accents and make funny noises and shit while I'm creating. They're like, "What are you doing, Mom? What are you talking about?" They all like everyone that comes through my house knows that I do these weird things.
I love it. No, I totally get it. It's like because in my own way, it's interesting. One of the things that I mentioned that I teach about like gene keys and stuff, and one of the aspects of the gene keys kind of talks about your brand and like what you're here to sell, not in like the modern way that we think of sales, but like in your own unique, you came here to give something, right? And so for me, that frequency is actually like beautiful visual things. Like there's something about the visual aspect of branding things for me that like it has to be there or otherwise it's like it won't attract people. There's like a sphere that talks about this. So anyways, everything that I create, at least for my own like marketing, I've like is my attempt at like making beautiful things and I understand what you're talking about. My experience has been mostly using Canva, but like I feel that when I'm in that creative space, everything disappears. Like and I get lost. And it's so funny because even I'm writing a book right now. I'm trying to finish a book that was supposed to be out already, but the process is like part of what's like holds me back sometimes is because I know that when I sit down and I start working, I'm like, I'm going to lose track of time. And like, it's going to, like, that has to happen though. Like, there's an aspect of that where I have to just submerge myself in it. Otherwise, it's like I'm not in the flow. To me, that's like us channeling. So if you were to think about it, would you consider like what you do, like channeling?
Yeah, 100%. It's definitely channeling. And I like, there's all this terminology, like, the Akashic records. And I listened to an Audible book on Akashic records a few years ago, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I do. I go into the Akashic records. And it's not even like it's in my dreams. Like I dream about places and then I like recreate them and there are all these places that exist in like other realms and other dimensions that I think, we're all just like tapping into. And like you look at different artists like Danielle Noel and like, we're obviously like connected to something similar, right? And then it's really interesting too because sometimes I'll be working on a piece of artwork and then I'll be like scrolling on Instagram and I'll see another artist will have posted like, I don't know, even if it's just like an owl or like a deer or just something similar. And it just like it feels a little bit similar. And I have this other theory about like ideas, and it's something that I'll talk about in the course too. Like, I don't think ideas belong to us. I think they're in the ether and we're pulling from them. And it's like whatever we connect to. And if we don't channel it, somebody else will, or maybe we're both like other people are channeling it at the same time.
There's a book. Yesterday, I was teaching my moon goddess training, and this came up. We were talking about like dimensions and like the idea of like dimensions, the concept of dimensions and what they actually are. And do you actually like, go to different dimensions and then come back or, all that conversation. And then we got into the concept of like, where do the inspiration and creative ideas come from? And I remember reading a book that that really express this in a very clear way. It's called Big Magic. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
About that she writes a book and then she hugs someone at a conference. Is that
Yeah,
how?
there's but no, it was like the idea that like when an idea comes to you, it's like you if you don't act on it, it'll like float away to
Yeah.
somebody else. And then, so she was talking about like, hey, they stole my idea, but the reality it's like no, it
Yeah.
just went to another inspired space to come through into the
They
material.
acted on it. They acted on the idea that was in the ether, in the
Right.
collective consciousness.
And I love that because it makes sense that like we're all, and this is really important because I teach an Akashic record certification, which is the Moon Goddess training. And I always tell people, I'm like, I have a very unique like concept of the Akashic and way of teaching about it. And it has to do with like realizing that the Akashic records is like just a field of information, that we are even a part of that field of information. And
Mhm.
through our intuitive abilities, right? Where it's like, whether it's like through you see images, like we call that clairvoyance, or whether you have like feelings like clairsentience, or whatever is that intuitive ability that you have, that's your way of communicating with the Akashic. So in that creative space is when we use those intuitive abilities the most. And so to me,
Mhm.
it's like that's why we are totally channeling when we are in creative spaces. And it's something that like most people have actually like repressed
Mhm.
within themselves. And it maybe now more than ever why so many people are like they're looking for like to find that in within themselves. It's like almost like we let that inner child die, inside of us through the process of like whatever society conditioning, all this stuff. And I think as a humanity, as a collective, but especially within women, it's like we are like no, like I want that back. I want to, and we feel this urge, and that's that creative flow.
Yeah, I agree with that. That like the playful connection, like wondering, experimenting, looking at things with like marvel and wonder,
Mm,
like the importance of that and how to bring that into your work.
yeah.
It's like constantly being mesmerized by like the sky and the stars and the flowers and the ocean and all of it. Like, wow, it's crazy that we're even here.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's incredible. Because
it's
look,
wild.
it's because it's like the mind is in awe of the things that we can actually bring to life.
Yeah.
And this like whole this type of art is like a really good example of that. I mean,
Yeah,
because
it
like,
just like amplifies and exaggerates like the reality that we're already living in. And that's yeah.
yeah, I mean, because like a lot, like the images, right? To me, they feel very much like portals to other dimensions. And like, okay, so like some of the stuff that you do is like themed, via like astrological, concepts or themes, and some other stuff is like archetypal. But no matter what it is, there's always like it lures you into like a new world, and it's almost like it's the space of the imagination comes alive in these types of like collage images. It's
How do you feel about AI and its contribution to this? Because there are some pretty sick AI images out there. Like you
you
have
know
to,
yeah, no, I mean, and I do I do admit that. It's funny because I'm still my experience of AI, I'm still like I don't know, I'm like waiting. Like I haven't even like dipped my feet into it very much, other than just I see what people are coming up with and I'm like, well, I'm gonna get pretty behind if I don't. But at the same time, it's like I don't really feel like this deep desire to do that because like you mentioned before, I feel like it takes that the process of creativity, I can't see how you would that would even exist in the creative space. It's almost like it's amazing because of some of the things that it can do, but in other ways, I feel like it's like dumbing us down because we're not thinking anymore. Like it's so funny. The other day, I was, a lot of people in my world now recently that I've communicated with and like learned about and stuff, like they really are into AI, especially like the chat GPT, and they like ask it questions and things like that. And we were just in like Egypt,
uh,
and I remember telling you about this at one point. People were like, "Did you know that you can like put up the camera and to up to the hieroglyphics on the wall, and the chat GPT tells you the meaning?" And I was like, well, that's actually pretty cool. Like, I actually really liked that. And then there's other aspects where like I am a very I'm like a consciousness person. Like I have a lot of Gemini in my chart, and I'm also in human design, I'm a mental projector. So my mind, the activity of my mind is like it's like very, very active, but it's also very imaginative. And I love like making the links. Like I'm the one that like makes the connections with myself, right? Like I'm the artist, right? In a way, in that mental space. And so the other day I was looking up information. I was like making connections to like, oh my God, this experience, what we were I was happening, and then the sun was in this jinky and this means this, and then that reminds me of this other concept, and then this other archetype, and then this message starts coming through, like starts being formed with all the connections that I'm making through like my own like world, right, of like expertise and like art in a way, and then the unfoldment of the story, and then soon enough I have this like whole thing like written out of like what I'm discovering myself. And I noticed that like that's what Chat GPT does. But I was like, I'm like my own Chat GPT. And
Yeah,
I
so
that's made me think.
like, is it interfering with your pure channel?
Yeah, it's like you don't have to think anymore.
Or is it enhancing it because it's doing like like doing the legwork, so to speak? Like, so it's creating more information out in the collective. Like GPT chat is so informative that we all have access to this information that we're actually able to like elevate beyond that information and then get to higher realms of ideas and information.
I
Like,
hope that that's the case.
but then I will say that I've written things into GPT chat and it was wrong.
Oh,
And then,
yes, it's not a
oh,
hundred. Yeah.
like, oh, I'm sorry, you're right. I'm like, dang, caught ya.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely the topic of conversation nowadays.
So I have to confess something is that I'm creating some images with AI for
Mhm.
a client right now, and it was a very controversial for my soul. But it's just the women and pieces. So I've been starting to play with it. And like, I don't want to fight anything in this world. I want to be in flow. I don't think that we're meant to be here to be battling something. Like I've battled shit in my life and have been like, the black sheep and fighting and the underdog, like fighting for the underdog. And yeah, like I'll continue to do that, but I don't feel like I want to do that with AI. No way. But when I'm engaging with it, I do have this weird, sticky, dense energy on me.
Mm.
And when I like step away, there's like this buzz that it's not the same as when I'm just creating. It's a very different. It's a little bit dark. It's definitely not that like higher connection to that I feel when I'm creating, that I think that I'm working with God. So I
Oh my.
joke, like it's not really a joke, but I think it is in a way. It's a dance with the devil.
Ooh.
And that's how I feel when
Oh my God, dude, this is crazy. I mean, I love this perspective. I've never heard it, but oh my God, you're like, but you're speaking from the experience that you're having of interacting with it. Woo, that's crazy.
I think everyone has to deal with the devil though, don't they?
I guess I don't know. I mean, we got to work through our shadows.
I mean, yeah, isn't it it's about like totality. It's
Maybe
every
it's like the ultimate collective shadow.
Yeah, maybe, or both shadow and light, it all. I think I went through this whole part of like actually leaving that ayahuasca community where I was like really challenged and confronted and accepting what is dark in this world. And, it's the same thing with like all the war and the politics and everything that's going on. Like we're constantly confronted with like accepting accepting this world for all of its darkness and all of its lightness together. And I think that that's maybe what we're here to do.
You can't have light without the dark, and you can't have the dark without the light. Like they live within each other. Like there's the spectrum, right? It's like the laws of the universe, that the law of polarity, that like you have two seemingly opposing, completely different things, but really they're just part of the same spectrum. So like right versus wrong. It's like, okay, right is on this end of the spectrum, but if you move this way, it's like a little more wrong, a little less right. You know what I mean? Or if you move this way, it's a little less wrong, a little more right. But it's like they belong to the same, like we all belong to that same kind of like line of existence, that when it's completely in the polar opposite, it seems like there's no way that one thing can be the other. No way. But also think about astrology. I mean, like astrology has like the polarity of like the opposing sign. Like
Mhm.
we have 12 signs, but there's always the exact one in the opposite end, and they seem like complete opposites. But the key, even within the astrology, would be to find like the balance between the two, is like to get to the middle. So maybe like we're always constantly in this like third dimension, we're just flowing through this like darkness and light, and just over and over again going through these experiences just to see if we can find our way to the middle.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The way to hold all of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I sometimes wonder if like, does it require you to go to all the way to one extreme of darkness to be able to receive that equal counterpart of lightness or experience something equal? Kind of like the theory of like what goes up must come down, sort
hmm
of.
Well, if you think about it through the laws of the universe, it's like that, right? As above, so below, as within, so without, what goes up must come down. But finding that balance in the middle, it's like, okay, so if you live in the extremes constantly, you're going to go from extreme to extreme, because you have to match, it has to match on the other end. So if you're like somewhere, if you get closer to the middle, then there's not going to be that many extremes, you know?
A lot of my life in the extremes. I'm challenged to find the middle.
Well, I honestly, it sounds like we're talking about like the Buddha middle path, you know? It's like in the center, find your anchor. And I think that that's a big theme, and a big like that's an important thing. I think that's what we need to do right now in the world. We need to find our center in the chaos, you know?
Yeah. And I really do believe that through the process of creation, and like we talked about before, like just holding that process so dear and close to your heart and really like allowing yourself to get lost in it, that is medicine. That is medicine for everyone. It is alchemizing, and it's a path to God.
Mm. I love that. And I 100% agree. And I know that this is true. Like, I know it's true because I feel the same way when I'm in that creative space. It's like I am one with the all, and it's like just coming through. And actually, this has been a conversation lately in the groups that I lead, that that's what we're experiencing when we're like just in that flow. It's like it's not me. It's like just coming. I'm just the conduit for it to come through. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it can be like with any, writing and singing and dancing and cooking and whatever, surfing, like whatever it is, just like as long as you have that space where you are connecting and yeah, that's the only hang up that I have with AI is that I think we're losing that. We're going to lose that process.
It's a scary thought because of how I feel like through my eyes I've seen how beautiful it is to be fully engulfed in that process.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's like a natural given like gift, from God. Like, well, they say we're created in the image of God, and a lot of people don't like the idea of like, I am God, meaning not in the ego sense, but like I am an extension of that energy because I have the ability to think and have consciousness and the ability to tap into the Akashic records and like channel from that space. And that in that creative space is when we feel mostly connected to what we would call God. You know what I mean? That I know that some people have like a resistance to that, but that's ultimately what I think we are here to find out. So this whole concept that you brought up of like it's like a dance with the devil, I'm like, oh my God, because oh my God, like my mind is just like, wait a minute. It's
No,
crazy.
within yourself, it's the God, it's God. And I actually just had this conversation with the lovely one, this like lovely woman that I'm connected to on Instagram that we're always just drawn to each other. And I reached out to her because I wanted to have a conversation with her because she follows A Course in Miracles
Hmm.
and she speaks a lot about it. And she's really helpful in breaking it down. And I just love everything she talks about. And she said to me, an act of self-love and self-worship and taking care of your body and actually worshiping your body is you worshiping goddess through yourself. Like you are God, you are the goddess, and that's how you create a better relationship with the divine is through yourself.
Hmm.
That's just like through what you eat and like the exercise and the gym and like everything. It's like, yeah, whereas sometimes like a lot, I had trouble with that relationship before. Like I never thought that. And now I get up and I go to the gym every day and it's like this spiritual thing for me. It's like, this is my body. And I'm going to worship it as I would worship God. And I'm just learning this year.
I love that. That makes me so happy. Yeah, your body is your temple. So like, are you gonna trash your temple? You know?
No. I mean, I think a lot of my life I was like, fighting with my body and fighting with myself. I think we all are.
Yeah.
It's a constant battle with your mind and your thoughts and your body. I'm maybe not all of us, but it's been my experience that I've had a difficult time going through changes and transitions and
Mm-hmm.
keeping up with my crazy monkey mind and my changing body. And
I think that when we step into purpose, what happens is those aspects of us that feel like my mind's over here, my heart's over here, like my body's suffering because of it and all these things, that when we actually find more of a purposeful, meaningful like life, which happens when we start to like fall into the alignment with, our higher self, our purpose, all that stuff, that those things just naturally like relax and actually come into unison at some point.
I love that. And that makes so much sense for me right now because I feel, this cosmic creation code, I'm building out the membership on a new platform. I'm opening it up in different ways. I really feel this like sense of community and connection to the women that I connect with you. Like it's so different than just creating for a client, which I also love, but I've done that for a while. And for some reason, like the whole, like the diet and the gym and the exercise and like just like all of the little daily routines have like all been coming together for me. And yeah, I just love that you said that because maybe it feels a little bit easier for me right now because I am coming more into alignment
Oh
with
my, I love that. Yeah. And I feel it too, like intuitively for you. The stepping, it's a natural progression. Like you're stepping into like the role of like the teacher now, just because it's like, well, what else is gonna, you got to share this. I mean, I'm not saying you have to, but you know what I mean? Like there's like an aspect of you that like this process has like, in some ways, like really freed parts of me that were like constricted. And
yeah.
I can guide others to, and that's the purpose. Like you're not teaching just because like, oh, I want to teach people how to use Photoshop. Like, no, that's not what you're doing, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. I know that's not what you're doing.
Okay.
What was that? I didn't hear that.
I think it's a little bit more than that, than just photos.
Totally. But you know what I mean? It's like there's when you have that meaning behind it. And I think because of that, I feel like it's just like a natural progression for you to step into like teaching and then you can like spread and give this like be of service, right? Like the best way that we can feel like this happened to me I mean, I've been doing this for like years, right? Like I have a YouTube channel, like all this stuff. These things have naturally progressed into everything that I do now, like studying astrology, studying all these systems, gaining the information and doing it because I love it, but not necessarily like having a huge like quantum leap, you could say, in the world of like business, right? Like I don't have like hundreds of thousands of followers or anything like that. I'm kind of like small fish, you know what I mean? Like that's just like the perspective. But this year, there was a quantum leap. And now I'm like, I am so busy. I'm like, wow, I don't even know how I'm keeping up. Like, I'm doing like 2 to 3 sessions a day with people, and it's like getting booked out all the way till June. And I'm like, whoo, like, but I just feel like it's a natural progression to
Yeah.
step to a place where, like, and when that is of service, because I like, I'm having this experience right now where I watch people, they come into a reading, right? Not everybody, but a lot of people, they come in and their face is like serious and like forehead is like, like they're just like in this kind of constricted space. And they come to me because they're like, help me. Like, what's my purpose? And I'm like, okay, like, let's just like start here and then it'll slowly unravel. And I just let it intuitively flow. Like, I don't even control what the session's going to be like. I just trust that their questions will be answered. You know what I mean? But then at the end of the session, people's face, like, they're just like lighter, like something is lifted off of them. And I'm like, maybe that's what I'm here to do. Like maybe it's not, and that's it. It's like because I feel so fulfilled when I see people in that state of like joy, like self-esteem, joy. And I feel like you probably have that experience too when you share this skill and someone goes from like, "Oh my God, like I had no idea how to do this," and like, "I did it. Like look, I made a picture," you know? That process is it's everything.
It's so true. Well, my one mentee that I was working with today, I work with two every Monday. She is always like, "Oh shit. Oh shit." Like she says it over and over when like I teach her something, when she realizes something, and it's so funny. Like I just love her reaction. And it's very rewarding. It's very fulfilling
Mm,
to be able to open someone up a little bit, to be able to shift things for them, and for them to be able to look at something a little bit different or do something a little bit different or just expand their world and expand their capacity and see what they're able to do. It is like a magical,
it
very
is.
thing.
Yeah, it's like when you see that like joy, like there like that makes it all worth it, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. Well, thank you. Like, thank you for sharing your story. I have so much fun. Like, I feel like we could continue talking
Yeah.
forever. Like, so I love like, where the conversation like went and flowed. And if anyone is like wanting to like work with you personally, like, what are some of the ways that they can do that with you?
So if someone's interested in learning, I'm actually moving everything over to Kajabi, and we'll be launching like within a month. So there's going to be a membership, and then the live course is transitioning into a mastermind. So it's going to be like a 6 month mastermind. And then there's going to be like different courses that you can participate in for like specific things. Or I'm going to be holding different group containers for different things, like actually creating your brand and your website, putting artwork on products and creating passive income, or like creating an oracle deck. And those will all be featured on the website, the Cosmic Creation Code website. And then if someone just wants to have me create a brand for them, I offer a few different packages,
Hmm.
and on my website, lorimenna.com. And I'm always just open to like different types of collaborations, and I'm just flexible to anything that comes my way. It's funny that you mentioned a quantum leap. I've definitely experienced a quantum leap, but I think the last year I've been in like a quantum rest. can you do a quantum rest too?
Yes, totally.
So I was like for a while, like back to back, like all having all these clients, and then, then it like slows down, and then this like transition happens, and that's kind of where I am right now. Like I have one client now, and I just did send out two contracts, so I'm picking up a little bit more. But it's just like by the grace of God that I was given this like rest time because I'm usually really busy with clients, really busy serving clients, like creating brands and creating custom artwork. And I've been pouring a lot of my time and energy into the cosmic creation code. And like you said, it is so much more than just learning Photoshop. It's like the cosmic creation code.
I freaking love that. That's epic. Yeah, and I agree. I agree. It's truly magical and I'm so happy. I'm so excited. This class I feel like is really gonna help me find that confidence too, to feel more like relaxed in the process of creating. And I completely 100% recommend the class. And I can't wait also for like the new offerings that will be coming in the future, because one of the things that I definitely I'm already doing it, but it's like in the process is creating an oracle deck to like match the moon goddess training that I've been teaching for 4 years. It needs a moon goddess oracle deck. So and the themes and the concepts of the deck, I already like have it all laid out, but it's the cards that I'm like, oh. And but anyway, so yeah, I've been really inspired by your work for years now. And it's been so nice to have you and like to hear your story and to really feel like you are really tapped in. Like this is where the magic is. And so hopefully those of you that are listening are inspired to do that the same, because we're all capable of this, finding that creative space. And I really believe that this is what is happening in the world right now that will bring in the healing that we need so desperately.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jai. I love that you're in my class and that we could connect in this way. It's so meaningful to me. And I've had, yeah, a lot of the other students, I've had such deep, meaningful, lovely connections with these women. And I'm just so grateful for that and so grateful for you. So thank you.
Yeah.
I'm so excited to see where your deck goes and what you start creating through the duration of this course. And the fact that you play in Canva and you're well versed in Canva, like that's amazing. It's just it's just more like little, because Canva is a little bit similar to Photoshop. I mean, of course, in Photoshop you can do a lot more, but it's just like an initiation for you. And
It's
now
interesting because Canva was not always like it is now. They've added a lot of features because people were like wanting like removing backgrounds and things like
yeah.
that. Like, that was never there before. When I discovered, like, they started adding, actually, this is funny because of going back to the AI, they started adding AI stuff. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh my God. And that's when I was like, I just went ape shit, because I was like, wait a minute. If I can remove this background and I can, so I started doing stuff, but in Canva, but it's like, again, I feel like I want the Photoshop quality.
Well, in Photoshop, you can like remove backgrounds and add elements. Photoshop has a lot of AI built into it. And
Mhm.
some of it we get into and we definitely will use some of it and I'll teach, where it is and how to utilize it. But then there are other like AI intuitive tools that we already use, like the selected mask tool. Like that's all AI intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like you said, we have to integrate it into what's happening. We're not gonna like fight it. Just a little dance with the devil.
Oh my God, I love that. Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, and thank you for like staying the course and like, continuing to like perfect your craft and then stepping into this place of sharing it. Cause I'm just like, I am so you have no idea like how exciting this is for me in my life to be able to learn from someone like you that has really perfected their craft. So thank you. And I love that we get to put this out to the world and invite people into this space.
Yeah, so cool. Thank you.
Yes. So, yeah, say that again.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you again next time.